Everyone loves the Beatles UK albums, but what if I told you the superior version of Help was the US soundtrack? When the Beatles released Help in 1965, fans in the UK and the US got two very different albums. In the United Kingdom, Help was a full-length Beatles album with 14 tracks featuring all songs by the bands. Side A features songs from the film like Help and You've Got to Hide Your Love Away, while Side B had new songs that weren't in the movie at all. It followed the same pattern as their earlier albums, giving fans a solid set of original music. But in the United States, Capitol Records had a different plan. Instead of releasing all 14 songs, they put out a true movie soundtrack. The US Help had only 7 Beatles songs, all from the movie, and filled the rest of the record with instrumental music from the film, scored by George Martin. So while the UK version gave fans more songs, the US version gave listeners a musical experience that matched the film itself. You could hear Ticket to Ride, and then right after, you can hear a dramatic orchestral piece that was used in the movie. For many American fans, this was their version of Help, and the one they grew up with. It's 2 albums, same name, totally different approaches. The US version of Help works better as a soundtrack because that's exactly what it is, a soundtrack. It's built to match the film, not just be another Beatles album. You get the songs in the same order they appear in the movie, and in between, you hear the actual score used in the film. These are orchestral pieces arranged by George Martin. Some are dramatic, some are playful, but they all help to tell the story. This gives the US album a real sense of flow. It feels like you're watching a movie through music. You hear Help, and right after that, the tension builds with an instrumental track. It pulls you into the film's world, even if you're just listening. By mixing Beatles songs with score music, the album creates a different kind of experience. Less like a pop record and more like a journey. It stands out from the rest of the early albums because of this format. It's not just about the songs, it's about the feeling of the movie, the action, the humor, and the atmosphere. It is all packed into one record. For fans of the film, it makes total sense. This version gives you the Help experience, not just the hits. Another reason the US Help album holds up, it focuses only on the strongest tracks. Out of all 14 songs recorded for Help, Capitol Records chose the 7 for the US release. These weren't random picks, they chose songs featured in the movie, which happened to be some of the best. For example, you got Help, Ticket to Ride, You Got to Hide Your Love Away, and The Night Before, just to name a few. These are standout songs, they have big hooks, emotional depth, and some of the Beatles' most memorable early work. By cutting out the rest, the US version plays like a greatest hits package from the Help era. There's no filler here, just the tracks that had the biggest impact. Some fans say this makes the album too short or too stripped down, but others see it as a tighter, cleaner, and more focused album. You don't get sidetracked by the songs that weren't in the movie or didn't have the same punch. In a way, the US version benefits from being selective. It leaves you with a strong set of songs that stick in your head, and none of that drags things down. It's short but powerful. For a lot of listeners, that's exactly what makes it better. For many American fans, the US version of Help is more than just a soundtrack. It's the version they grew up with. It's the one they saw in the record stores, played on their turntables, and heard on the radio. For a lot of people, this album is their connection to the movie and from that time in their lives. The opening notes of Help, followed by the film's orchestral score, bring back vivid memories. Not just of the music, but watching the film, buying the vinyl, or playing it as a kid. That mix of Beatles songs and George Martin's score gives the record a unique identity. It's more than just music, it's tied to the full experience of Help as a movie. Hearing those instrumental tracks between the songs makes people feel like they're right back in the theater in 1965. And when nostalgia is part of the picture, logic goes out the window. People form deep emotional attachments to the versions they heard. It becomes the real one in their minds. So even if the UK version has more songs, and even if critics prefer it, the US Help soundtrack hits differently. For a lot of fans, it hits harder. Of course, not everyone agrees that the US Help is better. In fact, Some Beatles fans are quick to call it a butchered version of the original, and they do have some fair points. One common argument is that the UK version gives you more Beatles, 14 full songs, all written and performed by the band. Why settle for 7 when you can have double that? Others say that it's just wrong to cut out tracks like I've Just Seen a Face and It's Only Love. Sure, they weren't in the movie, but they're still great songs. And with the UK album, you're getting a more complete picture of where the Beatles were musically in 1965. So what's the counterpoint? It's simple. The US Help isn't trying to be a regular Beatles album. It's a soundtrack. It was designed to go with the movie, not to stand out on its own as a full studio release. It has a different purpose and a different feel. You could argue the UK version is better for a full music experience, but the US version wins if you're looking for the Help movie experience on vinyl. In the end, it's not about which one is right or better. It's about the kind of experience that you're looking for. At the end of the day, the debate between the US and UK versions of Help really comes down to one thing: purpose. The UK album was meant to be a full Beatles release, 14 songs that show where the band was creatively in 1965. It gave fans the most music for their money and continued the band's tradition of strong studio albums. The US version had a different goal. It wasn't trying to be a full studio album. It was built as a soundtrack designed to support the Help film experience. It gave listeners not just the songs they heard in the movie, but also the mood, the pacing, and the sound of the film itself, thanks to George Martin's score. So which one is better? It depends on what you're looking for. If you want a full batch of Beatles songs, the UK album wins. But if you want to relive the Help movie and experience the songs the way they were presented in theaters, the US soundtrack has something special to offer. They're not the same album, they were never meant to be, and maybe that's what makes the debate so interesting. It's not about right or wrong, it's about what version tells the story you connect with most. Do you prefer the full UK album or the more focused US soundtrack? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what version you grew up with or what you think holds up better today. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell so you don't miss any more Beatles deep dives. And I will see you in the next one.